My team spent 3 months reviewing over 5,000 questions that we've received all about Disney Cruise Line. These are the things that everyone wants to know before heading on board for the very first time and hearing that iconic horn blast to start off your trip. And after diving deep into these thousands of questions, we've narrowed it down to the top 40 things you need to know before your very first Disney cruise or your 30th Disney cruise. Question number 6 has personally saved us $900, while question number 34 is something that a lot of people are going to get wrong even if you're a veteran cruiser. So let's dive straight into question number 1, which is all about the Disney ships. Which ship should you go on? What's the differences? And each ship is going to have its own vibe, and that vibe is going to set the tone for your entire vacation. Currently, there are 3 types, or what are called classes of ships. A class is basically a type of ship that's made by the same shipyard, and all the ships that are like it, they're all sister ships to each other. The Magic and Wonder were the first 2 ships in the Disney fleet, and they're definitely on the smaller side. But cast members maintain it very well, so while you can tell it's a little bit older, it's still super comfy and cozy on board, and you still have the full Disney Cruise Line experience. Next up are the Dream and Fantasy, which are much larger than the Magic and Wonder. In fact, these ships brought out a ton of new innovations like Animator's Palette, where you could have a turtle talk with Crush-like experience around the restaurant, and of course, because these ships are bigger, you can have a much larger splash pad and a ton more pools on board. Then, fast forward a few years, the newest ships, the Wish and the Treasure, are all about the wow factor. Think Star Wars Lounge, Haunted Mansion Lounge, Marvel dining experiences, and the first ever Disney attraction at sea called the Aquamouse. The Destiny will have her inaugural sailing in November 25, and the Wish class of ships are really just quintessential Disney. If you want to see pixie dust and magic around every corner, then the Wish class is for you. Then there's the Disney Adventure, which is in a class all of its own. This is going to be the largest ship in the world when she sets sail in December 25. The cruise company that was building this ship went bankrupt, and Disney swooped in as a dark horse candidate to pick it up for pennies on the dollar and invested billions into this ship. Seriously, this ship is going to be insane. It's basically going to be like a brand new theme park opening, but on the seas. To summarize, if you want the latest pixie dust and Instagram spots, go Wish or Treasure. If you want the best overall value, Dream or Fantasy are probably your best bet. But for unique itineraries like Alaska and to get that OG charm, that's going to be the Magic or the Wonder. And of course, the Disney Adventure is probably going to blow all of us away, except you got to get to Singapore to sail on it. Speaking of itineraries, let's talk about the one destination that every Disney cruiser asks about: Castaway Cay, Disney's private island in the Bahamas. And trust me, after visiting multiple cruise line private islands, there's a reason why this one keeps winning awards, and also why our kids ask, "Hey Dad, when are we going to go back to Castaway Cay?" Unlike some other cruise line islands, Castaway Cay has an actual dock, so no tender boats are needed. You can walk right off the ship and be sitting on the beach in less than 7 minutes. Of course, the food and the sodas that you find so freely available on the ship are also going to be on the island, and there's plenty of options for adult beverages around the beaches. You can grab lunch with your family at Cookies, and Cookies too. There's also a tram that's going to take you back and forth from the ship and all the way over to the adults only slice of paradise, Serenity Bay. This adults only beach is half empty most days, and it has the best barbecue lunch on the island. If you have kiddos with you, you can drop them off at Scuttle's Cove and then catch a couple trams over to Serenity Bay. And if you do want to hang with the kiddos, well, there's a killer option called Pelican Plunge, and it has this water slide and it shoots you right out into the ocean. But don't worry, mama, there are lifeguards everywhere. There's also a really cool water jungle gym, and your kids can swing from it and drop into the ocean. But let me tell you, there is so much more to do and see on this island that a 1-minute blurb cannot do it justice. Should you visit? Absolutely, but pick an itinerary with 2 Castaway stops if you can. That's called a double dip. Trust me on this one, you'll want that second day at Castaway Cay once you see it. Now let's talk the best itineraries, and I'm about to save you hours of research because I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people ask me, "Ben, which cruise should we go on? We're thinking about doing a Disney cruise. Where's the best places to go?" So the Caribbean cruises are always going to be the most popular, but the truth is that most of the time a 7-night Caribbean cruise is cheaper than a 3 or 4 night. Might be more expensive for that 7-night cruise in total, but on a per night basis, a 3-night cruise is more expensive than a 7-night most of the time. A 7-night itinerary is also going to hit that sweet spot with multiple sea days to actually enjoy your ship, and you'll have a variety of ports in that itinerary, which means a lot of unique port adventures that you can do. If you're sailing January through March, you might also get the perfect weather and lower prices on that cruise. And obviously for many folks, a 3-night or a 4-night cruise may be all you can do, and that's plenty of time to experience a Disney cruise. Honestly, like unless we're going on a very specific cruise or a 7-night itinerary because we have to go film something, we're probably going to do a 3-night or 4-night ourselves. A 3-night cruise or a 4-night cruise, it's a great balance between the time on the ship and doing activities, doing port adventures, stuff like that. Now, one thing that we will talk about later on in this video is Pirate Night. And trust me, a 4-night Pirate Night sailing is legit. So every Caribbean cruise will have one night that is called Pirate Night. If you can do a 4-night Pirate Night sailing, that's awesome. Now, if you're thinking about Europe, the Fantasy or the Dream are the ships to be on right now. The Fantasy is over in Europe doing the European sailings. There's a ton of great ports in Europe, obviously, as you can imagine. And the European itineraries will have 8 to 10 hours available in each port every single day. But 7 nights all the way up to even a 15-night cruise on a Trans-Pacific route, that's a long time to be on the same ship. So you're going to be able to get off the boat, you're going to be able to explore, you'll be able to do port adventures. There's a lot of activities on a 7-night plus sailing. But, on those longer itineraries, you're going to want to hop off as much as you can because that's the point of going on these longer cruises, is exploring the world a bit. And transatlantics are fun, Trans-Pacifics, Panama Canal, those are very long cruises, especially with the kiddos, but the ultimate itinerary. And if you could ever only do one cruise with Disney Cruise Line, my family and I would wholeheartedly 100% recommend doing Alaska in either August or September. Look, we have been on a lot of cruises with Disney Cruise Line. I've seen most of the ports in the Caribbean, but our favorite cruise to date has always and forever will be Alaska. I cannot tell you how awesome that cruise is. I would put my stamp of approval on it. I recommend doing August or September if you can. You can do it a lot earlier than that if that's what your vacation schedule allows. But if you can hit August and September, it's the perfect weather. It's awesome. I cannot say enough good things about Alaska as an itinerary for you. But if you can only do a 3-night or 4-night sailing, do the Caribbean and we will get you on a 4-night Pirate Night sailing because that's also going to be super fun. So the elephant in the room, when you propose going on a Disney cruise to someone, whether it's a friend or a family, somebody is inevitably going to say, why is that Disney cruise so much more expensive than any other cruise line? There's 3 main ways that I like to position a Disney cruise with our friends or our family or anybody that we're trying to convince to go on a Disney cruise with us, and you can do the same. The first is the character meet and greets, because there are so many characters that you'll be able to meet on board with very low lines. Now, some of them are going to have bigger lines than others, depending on what time of day you go, but there are so many opportunities for character interactions on the boat, especially if you're going to like Alaska or something like that. You get very unique character experiences. On top of that, the shows. Now, these are Broadway quality shows, and I've never been to Broadway, but that's what they say, and if this is what Broadway is like, maybe I would like it. But at the end of the day, these shows that they put on are so magical. They're super engaging. Our kiddos have not wanted to miss a single one. And then the third thing, because it is a family cruise, are the kids clubs. Now, the Oceaneer Club and the Oceaneer Lab are probably worth hundreds of dollars in value, and they're already free. On top of that, with the food, you've got rotational dining restaurants that you get to go to every single night. Every cruise has a buffet, and of course Disney Cruise Line also has buffets, whether it's Cabanas or Marceline Market. On top of that, you have room service, which is included, and you have free sodas and drinks available 24/7. Now, on top of that, there's a great splash pads for the kids, the areas with a pool and a slide. They're going to have those on pretty much any cruise ship. Now, on the Disney ships, they're more themed towards that IP that you would expect, that like say Disney World or Disneyland. And that also is the next point, is that we're seeing as a travel company, a lot of people shift their vacation budgets away from Disneyland or Disney World over to Disney Cruise Line because it's a much better bang for your buck. Let's say that you're spending $4,000 at Disney World for park tickets and hotel. Well, you're probably going to spend way more than that on food and drinks and souvenirs and all those other things. They really start to add up. But let's say that you're going to spend $5,000 on a Disney cruise with your family of 4. That's all in. That's your room. It's all of your food, your entertainment, snacks, drinks. I mean, everything is already included in there. Of course, there are upcharge things that you can do on a Disney cruise, just like there would be anywhere else. But what we are seeing is that a lot of people are going over to Disney Cruise Line instead of Walt Disney World or Disneyland this year. Obviously, the parks are going to be filled and you're going to have waiting lines anywhere you go there. But there is a pretty significant chunk of people that are going over to Disney Cruise Line now instead of going to the parks, and for good reason, because it's very economical and the price per night works out in your favor as a family. So don't let the price bother you. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive, but think of all the IP that you're getting. Think of all the freebies with the food, and let's not forget about the kids clubs, because Our experts are going to talk to you in a little bit, and I think it's in question 34. They're going to tell you a little bit about the Kids Club and what they really think about it. Disney honestly rarely offers a ton of last minute deals. They do pop up from time to time, but you have to be ready to rock and roll as soon as you see it on the site. There are also great rates for military members, whether you're active duty or a veteran. There's also great rates for Florida residents, but you do need to have a lot of flexibility on ports and dates. However, the one time a year they do offer a Disney Plus subscriber discount, jump on it. Kids are not completely free, they're 50% off and you'll have to pay port taxes and fees, but it's a really good deal. The real tea is this though, if you have a lot of flexibility and you don't really care about location, book what Disney calls a guarantee room. You pick your room category, but not the specific room number. These are usually $200 or $400 cheaper per cabin, and a little secret is that you can actually get upgraded by Disney. You can't really upgrade at the port using this rate, but Disney can do it at their own discretion. And one last thing, Disney usually drops new sailing dates 2 or 3 times a year, and they're about 12 to 18 months ahead. Usually this drop is going to happen in the spring and the fall. You've probably heard about this onboard deposit or future cruise onboard offer, and if you haven't, well, let's talk about what that actually is, because when you get on board and you open up the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app, you'll see an offer section and it'll say you can put down a $250 deposit, which can be used on pretty much any sailing or itinerary in the future. And honestly, this might be the best deal in cruising right now, because most cruise lines, they want 20% down to hold your cabin when you book by a travel agent or if you book online directly yourself, which means on a $7,000 Disney cruise, that's $1,400 up front before you even start sailing. But with this $250 placeholder, that $250 holds virtually any cabin, and it'll even hold up to a $15,000 concierge suite, for example. If it's a 7-night or longer sailing, you can use that placeholder to lower your overall deposit. But the real magic is that you can actually get all the way up to your final payment date, which is about 120 days before your sailing date, and you can decide like, hey, you know what, I don't want to go, and if you cancel before then, you get that $250 back in full. But wait, it gets even better, because for non-concierge staterooms, that placeholder also gets you 10% off the stateroom costs. You don't actually have to choose the cruise date, you don't have to choose the stateroom or anything like that when you take advantage of this placeholder in the app. It's ready to use anytime over the next 24 months. And there are a couple of caveats that you don't get the discounted rate in concierge, which means you don't get to take 10% off the cost of a concierge stateroom. That's only for non-concierge staterooms. And there are also some blockout dates, like you can't do certain sailings, you can't do inaugural cruises and things like that. And you can't also combine this with every single rate that Disney offers. You'll also see that you can put down 2 deposits. So you can do one $250 or you can do $500, which gives you 2 staterooms. And the problem with this though is that both staterooms have to be on the same sailing. So you can't book one placeholder for next month and then another placeholder for the next month. If you do 2 staterooms, they both have to be on the same sailing. You know, if you're traveling with family or friends in the future, have the other party Venmo you $250 so you can get the placeholder for both of you, and then you'll both be able to take advantage of that 10% off the non-concierge stateroom. We've used this many times ourselves. We've always have at least one placeholder rolling forward, and this saved us $900 on our non-concierge deluxe family stateroom on the Fantasy in May. So I would 100% recommend doing this if you're sailing on Disney Cruise Line anytime again within the next 24 months. Always have this placeholder. You can always apply it to the next cruise if you're sailing in non-concierge, and your travel agent will always be able to help you with this. After tracking hundreds of sailings for our guests here at Van Via Travel, here's what we've discovered. Disney Cruise Line uses what's called dynamic pricing allocation, and unlike other cruise lines, Disney's prices almost always go up, not down. I'm talking an extra 20-30% higher on most sailings if you wait until the last few months before it to start booking it. And those last minute deals that you hear about in other cruise lines, like book now and get $700 off, they basically do not exist with Disney, except in very limited cases where they need to fill space on a specific ship. Because most Disney ships right now are sailing at over 90% capacity, which means these ships are popular. And because of this dynamic pricing, some stateroom categories do go up if they are in more demand and filling up faster, while others may remain flat just to kind of stimulate demand. And once those rooms start to get booked, well, their prices are going to go up as well. So here's a real example that we tracked for a family that wanted to have a couple of staterooms on the Disney Treasure in May of 2025. They wanted 2 deluxe family ocean view staterooms with verandas, one for the kiddos, one for mom and dad. So for 2 people, it was $4,844, 591 days before the sale date. At 491 days before the sale date, that price jumped to $5,446. At just over a year out, Well, now it's up to $6,800. And at 292 days out, it's $7,300. So you can see that price is almost 50% more expensive to book it today than when the itineraries were first announced. So family, if you're watching this, let me know if you want to lock that in, because it's going to keep going up probably closer and closer to the sale date. Ben at fanvia.com, just ping me and we'll get it locked in. But for everybody else out there, that's why that $250 deposit is so powerful if you're already on board a Disney cruise, because you can book early, you can lock in that lowest price. And if any of those rare deals pop up, well, we can always apply those retroactively for you. But, at the end of the day, that's why we want you to go ahead and put the deposit down on your cruise, because the price is always going to go up the closer that you get to the sale date. If something pops up, you can always cancel. 120 days out before your cruise, you can cancel for a full refund. If you're staying in a concierge stateroom, you do lose your deposit. But you can always cancel. For most folks that are sailing non-concierge, you'll be totally fine to cancel at 120 days out. Also, speaking of getting you the best deal and looking for those rare discounts, how do I make absolutely sure that I am paying the least amount of possible and getting the best deal possible for my Disney cruise? Well, that's kind of our specialty, and that's what we do here at Fanvia Travel. So there's 3 tips that I can give you. 1, be flexible on your sailing date. We've seen people save thousands of dollars by switching their date to a week ahead or a month behind. If you have that flexibility, if you're tied to a kid's schedule, you can only do what you can do, right? But if you do have flexibility with your date, take advantage of it, because you can often save thousands of dollars that way. The second thing is to be very flexible with your stateroom. There's not really a big difference in terms of view between deck 7 and deck 9. If you're going from deck 5 to deck 12, yeah, it's arguable whether the view is different, but the price can be substantially different if you're going from a veranda room in deck 6 versus deck 8 or 9. It can be hundreds of dollars, it can be even thousands of dollars. And I'm not even talking about concierge staterooms, I'm talking about just a regular non-concierge room. If you're a social butterfly and you're not planning on being in the room except for to sleep at night, well, then go to an inside stateroom or an ocean view room, because you can also save quite a bit of money there. The third tip is that if you see a good deal, jump on it, or have us jump on it for you, because Disney prices, as we've talked about, are always going to keep going up. Anytime that a deal pops up, yeah, we can apply that retroactively for you, no worries there. But a lot of people make the mistake of trying to save the entire amount for the Disney cruise before they even book it, and that is a huge mistake. So make sure that you are always ready to put down that deposit as soon as you find the deal that you want. Because Disney cruises are always going to be more expensive, you'll never be able to save and get that same amount that you were planning on 6 months ago. So don't delay, go ahead and have that cruise ready to go. And by the way, you can also just let a travel agent do it. Now, I don't want to toot our own horn, and that's not what we're going to do in this video. I promise this is the only plug in the entire video about Fanvia Travel. But Disney pays us a lot of money every year to book Disney cruises for a lot of people all across the US, Canada, and even in Europe and some other countries. Disney wants us to be able to take care of our guests, and so we do that very well. So if you go to fanvia.com, you'll see all of our guides, all of our planning tools. It's very easy to submit a quote, track all of your trips. And the best part is you'll earn free travel rewards with every single trip you book with us at fanvia.com. You can use those free travel rewards for onboard stateroom credits. You can save your travel rewards. It's free. Use your rewards as you want to. Use them on this trip, use them on a future trip. It's up to you. There's really no limit to what you can do with those free travel rewards. And yeah, that's the last plug. So don't worry, I won't keep plugging this away, but go ahead and put that deposit down if you can, and have some flexibility with your cruise, and you will not regret it. Cruise is booked, and now it's time for you to step on board. We're going to go over in this section everything you got to worry about or think about before you step foot on the Disney cruise for the first time or the 50th time. Let's talk packing, and I'm about to share some things that no other cruise video is going to mention. Well, yeah, you need the basics like clothes and toiletries and swim clothes and all that kind of stuff, right? But here are the game changers that we have with us on every single cruise. The first is the most unexpected, and that's a magnetic hook. Disney will let you use these in your cabin, and they're perfect for wet swimsuits and organizing in those tiny bathrooms. Not every wall is magnetic, but several in your stateroom are, and these are so clutch no matter which itinerary you are on. Next up are some power strips, but they have to be without the surge protector. Most people don't know this, but surge protectors are banned on every single cruise ship. They will confiscate them, but a regular power strip, totally fine. Next up, and this is pure Disney cruise culture, the door decorations and fish extenders. Yep, there's a fish right outside your door with your stateroom number on it, and you can hang something from it. You can join a Facebook group and find a bunch of fish extender giveaways. You trade things with different people. It's a really cool tradition on Disney ships. You can also decorate your door because your door is magnetic, and decorating it is a really great tradition that my kiddos love. We never leave home without all of our stuff. All those door decorations are going to make finding your room way easier for your kiddos or yourself after a few late night shows. But our number one packing recommendation is to bring swimsuits, sunscreen, change of clothes, etc. all in your carry-on because those pools are available for you as soon as you step on board the ship. Your stateroom won't be ready until 1:30 at the earliest, and your suitcases may not make it until closer to dinner time. So get in the pool as soon as you get on the ship. So once those suitcases do get to your room, well, how many of them can you fit underneath the bed? And that's one of those questions that Disney's website doesn't actually answer very clearly, so we've tested it ourselves on every ship. A standard family stateroom can easily fit 4 large suitcases under the bed, and here's the kicker, we've actually fit 4 large suitcases, a double stroller, 2 roll-on bags, and a couple of backpacks under the bed at the same time in a deluxe family stateroom. But there's even more storage in this room because the closet has this genius split level design. The bottom half has enough clearance for 2 carry-on suitcases standing up, and that leaves the top free for hanging a bunch of clothes. Our pro tip though, unpack everything as soon as you get to your stateroom, then throw those suitcases underneath the bed. That will help you enjoy every minute of your vacation, and trust us, in these carefully designed rooms, every square foot of floor space really matters, and you don't really want to root around suitcases every morning either. So Disney follows what's called a optional dress-up night strategy. You don't have to bring a tuxedo, you don't have to bring a suit or tie or anything like that. And this is definitely a guideline, not a requirement or a rule. You know, we've seen everything from tuxes to pantsuits to sundresses and everything in between. So men, slacks, button-up shirt, polo, and jacket, totally fine. Ladies, dress up in pantsuit or dress, also totally fine. And kiddos can wear their Disney costumes. We've seen mini tuxes, full ball gowns. We've seen everything. And again, it's always optional. You never have to actually do this. On a 3-night sailing, one of those nights will always be pirate night and the other 2 are cruise casual. On a 4-night sailing, one night will be pirate night and the other nights will be cruise casual. You may have one semi-formal night. On a 5-night or longer itinerary, you'll have one semi-formal and one formal night. On like a 7-night cruise, like there will be a captain's gala dinner, like maybe consider dressing up for that. But again, it's always optional. You never actually have to do it. So whether it's semi-formal, formal, or like an optional dress up night, you never have to worry about actually putting on a dress and being barred from entry. Like that's not going to happen. Disney takes things very, very casual. And so like, that's why they call it cruise casual for the other nights on a cruise, because you know, it's your vacation with you and your family or your friends or your spouse or whomever's with you. Go have fun. Don't worry about having to put on a tuxedo and stuff like that. Do it if you want to, but it's never a requirement. What's the dress code for the rest of the cruise? And here's what all of our research, aka going on a bunch of Disney cruises, has shown us. During the day, it's totally cruise casual, very loungy, shorts, t-shirts, sundresses, whatever's comfortable for you. And yes, you can wear your Disney gear everywhere, but if you're going to Marceline Market or Cabanas, you do need a cover up for breakfast and lunch, and you have to wear shoes in those restaurants. For dinner in the main restaurants, it's cruise casual. Talking theme park nice shorts, a clean shirt, preferably a polo for the guys. The only real rule here though is that there's no swimwear and no tank tops for men. But there are some adult exclusive restaurants like Paolo, Remy, and Enchante, and they have very different rules, very strict dress codes for dinner. No flip-flops, men need nice pants and a nice shirt. Women need a dress, a pantsuit, or a skirt and blouse. But if you're going to a nightly show, you know, whatever you wear to dinner, it's perfectly fine to wear there. You don't have to change for the nightly show and for dinner. But here's the one fun thing that everyone forgets to pack for: pirate night. And trust me, you'll feel out of place if it's your first Disney cruise and you're the only one that's not dressed up. Okay, well, I mean, you don't have to dress up, but you're gonna feel slight regret if you don't bring a costume for your kiddos. We'll cover everything about pirate night in greater detail in just a little bit. So hair dryers and curling irons are totally okay to pack, but there are some important fine print details you need to know. First, every cabin does come with a hair dryer, and while it may not be the best, it does work. Fine for a quick dry, but if you care about your hair, probably should pack your own. One thing to remember is that the bathroom outlet is only for razors. Yep, ask me how I know. But don't worry, there are a ton of outlets at your vanity desk, so if you have a regular hair dryer, a curling iron, a flat iron, or a hot air brush, you can plug it in right at your vanity, and there's a mirror there for you as well. The ship's chief electrical engineer has the final say on every plugged in item on the ship, and they can confiscate an item from your luggage, so if you don't see it and you did pack it, well, it'll be returned to you after the cruise is over. Rule of thumb, if it has a heating plate without an auto shut off, or if it's a professional grade tool that draws a ton of power, best to leave it at home. So you don't want to get thrown in the brig on Disney, and yes, they do actually have a jail that they can throw you in, little known fact. But Disney ships are not going to be full of people that maybe brought extra alcohol on board, or maybe they brought in a curling iron that doesn't have a shut-off valve or something like that. You know, they're not going to throw you in jail for that. If there are things that they do not allow on the ship, you'll get it back when you get off. So like if you tried to bring your own iron on board, what they will do is they'll confiscate that item from your luggage, and it'll have a ticket and a tag, and it'll be waiting for you when you get off the ship. But don't worry, you're not going to jail or being thrown into the brig by Captain Mickey if you bring something on board that you shouldn't have. That's not going to happen. Saving for gratuities is something you should remember because this catches a lot of first-time cruisers by surprise. Disney's suggested gratuities are $14.50 per person per night, so for a family of 4 on a 4-night cruise, you're looking at $14.50 times 4 people times 4 nights, and that comes to $232. Here's what that money actually covers. It covers your dining room serving team, that's the head server, your server, and your assistant server, and it also includes your stateroom host. These are the 4 people that basically keep your cruise smooth sailing. Note that the concierge staterooms are $23.50 per person per night, and that extra amount covers the concierge team in the lounge and the concierge folks working behind the scenes. Our pro tip is to just go ahead and pay these in advance online. Why? Well, there's 2 reasons. One, you won't have to think about it on the ship. And the second is that if you want to, you can still adjust them up or down at guest services if you want during the cruise. There's also a couple other things to budget for, so if you're grabbing a drink from the bar or heading to the spa, an 18% gratuity will be automatically added to your bill. And while the room service food is free, it's customary to give $1 in cash per item, not $1 per delivery itself. If you're going on a port adventure, you should probably plan to bring about $5 to $10 per person in cash for your guide. Unless you've had horrible service, you should always give the full amount of gratuities. Bring cash for extra tips, but prepay the main gratuities with your cruise. That way you're not hit with a big bill at the end of the cruise and it's going to shock you. We usually give our stateroom host, our server, and our assistant server an extra $20 to $100 each, depending on the length of the sailing. Of course, they also get their full gratuity automatically, but trust me, that cash is really appreciated and it goes a long way with these cast members. You're probably wondering whether you really need to download that Disney Cruise Line app or not, and the answer is yes. You need to go get the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app as soon as you can, and you need to download it before you get on the ship, and here's why. This isn't just another pointless app, it's your digital cruise companion, and it lets you check into your cruise, you can book activities and restaurants on board, you can message your family, you can see all of the daily activities, check menus before dining at dinner, and you can see operating times for basically everything on board the ship. Here's something most people don't know though when they get on the ship for the first time. The app actually works in airplane mode. Disney has their own free onboard messaging system, so you can stay in touch with your group without paying for internet at all. Pro tip, we use this all the time. Create a group chat with your family as soon as you're on board, but don't forget to enable notifications because this app will alert you about those messages, and it will also alert you about shows you favorite, tell you about character meets that are coming up, and even when your photos are ready to view. After analyzing these thousands of cruise questions, this is the topic that causes the most stress to everyone. So let's break down exactly what to book and when. Your booking window opens based on your Castaway Club level, and you have to be paid in full. So for Pearl members, it's 123 days before. For Platinum, 120 days, Gold 105 days, Silver 90 days, and if it's your first time cruising on Disney Cruise Line, you can book activities at 75 days prior to sailing. However, if you are sailing in a concierge stateroom, you get a huge advantage because you can email the shoreside concierge team and ask them to book stuff for you at 130 days prior to your sailing. If you don't take advantage of that, well, you can start booking your own activities at 123 days before, whether you're Pearl or not. Fair warning, unless you are sailing concierge or are a Pearl Castaway Club member, you will most likely not get a cabana at Castaway Cay. Those sell out almost instantly. In addition to the cabanas, here's the order or the priority for what I would tell you is going to sell out the quickest on your sailing. Palo, Remy, Enchante, any of these adult dinings that have brunch, those will sell out super fast, and the adult dining for dinner will sell out pretty quickly right after that. The next up are going to be port adventures and popular spots, especially in Alaska. The next fastest thing to go is the Royal Court Royal Tea. If it's available on your sailing, that's going to go pretty quick, but Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique appointments on Pirate Night will sell out the fastest of any other time on board your sailing. Beverage tastings and seminars do go pretty quick, especially like the bourbon tasting, the whiskey tasting, and the champagne tastings. There is also a thing called Royal Gathering, and that opens up for everyone regardless of Castaway Club status. That opens up for everyone at 30 days, so be ready to act fast on that one. Here's our time-tested strategy. Mark your booking day and the day before on your calendar. Set an alarm for 11:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because the window opens at midnight and not 7 a.m. on the booking day. So if your booking window opens on May 2nd, well, you need to be on your laptop or your phone ready to rock and roll at 11:59 p.m. on May 1st. And because you're on vacation, if you see something on day 4 but you really wanted it on day 2, it's no longer available, just go grab day 4. It's going to be fun. You're on vacation, be flexible, and you don't need to worry about booking regular character meetings. You don't have to worry about rotational dining reservations, any kind of shows or kids clubs. Those are all included and you don't need reservations for them. You do need a reservation for Small World Nursery, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. This next one is crucial because when you check in determines when you board this ship, and every minute on board really counts. Online check-in opens much later than your booking window for activities. For Pearl Castaway Club members, you get to check in at 40 days before sailing. Platinum 38, Gold 35, Silver 33, and first-time Disney Cruise Line guests get to check in at 30 days prior to sailing. You also want to try to get the earliest port arrival time you can because your vacation starts a lot sooner that way. Here's the secret about port arrival times. They're actually assigned based on when you complete online check-in, not when you book the cruise, and the earlier port arrival time, the lower the boarding group number you'll receive. Similar to your activity bookings window, check-in opens up at midnight, so set that same alarm as we said earlier to 11:50 p.m. the night before so you'll be ready to go. Have your documents pre-scanned so you can go through each question really quickly. You'll need to input your pre- and post-departure plans, sign your kids up for Kids Club, input payment details for your stateroom account, and it's super important to have good headshots of each member of your party because you'll also need to upload those along with your documents if you're using a passport. If you're using a birth certificate, you also have to upload that too. Pro tip we've learned the hard way, do not try to check in on your phone. It is much better for you to use a computer with a really solid internet connection. We have seen so many people lose their early boarding groups because their phone glitched out halfway through. And I know what you're thinking, why is this dude harping on port arrival times and boarding groups and trying to get on board the ship? Well, I'm a nice guy. I just want you to get on board the ship so you can start enjoying your vacation that much faster. The sooner you get to the port, the lower your boarding group number, the more time you'll have to spend on board the ship and the more time that you'll have actually enjoying your vacation. Speaking of actually enjoying your vacation, it's important to note that your port arrival time is when you can enter the check-in area, not when you board the ship. Port arrival times are first, then you get your boarding group. And port arrival times and boarding groups, they really go hand in hand. Port arrival times are staggered in 15-minute increments, and that's where you're going to stand in a shortish line, you're going to head through security, you'll go into the terminal. After a quick document check, you'll be ready to line up for boarding when your number is called. Concierge and back-to-back cruisers are going to get to board first, and that usually happens between 10:45 and 11:30 a.m. After those groups board, they're going to start working through their remaining boarding groups. It really depends how quickly they're able to turn the ship over though, so sometimes it may be 10:45, sometimes it may be noon before they can board, it really depends. The real secret about boarding numbers though, you can't board earlier than your number, but you can absolutely board later. So if you're running a few minutes behind, or like if your flight got delayed or there's a wreck outside and you couldn't get to the port in time for your boarding group to be called, you're totally fine. You'll be okay as long as you're there before the all aboard time. What I like to tell our guests is that your first day's timeline should really look like this. So if you're driving to the port, arrive 30 minutes earlier than your port arrival time. That allows you plenty of time to drop off your luggage and then park your car. If you're taking an Uber or somebody else is dropping you off at the port, 15 minutes before your arrival time is totally fine. You're going to have to wait in a big line that says, 11:30 to 11:45 or 12:15 to 12:30. That's your port arrival time, and there'll be other people waiting, and so just head to that sign. Security and check-in will probably take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, and there's also a photo area. You can take a picture there, but you don't have to. You can skip it. And when your boarding group number is called, you can head on into the ship. Your stateroom's key to the world cards will be waiting for you at your stateroom door, and just a heads up that you probably won't be able to get to your stateroom until at least 1:30 or so. So you're all packed and ready to head on board the cruise ship. You're just waiting to tell the cast member what your family name is, and they are going to announce you just like this.
It's not the big bubble, the Armstrong family.
And once you have arrived on board the ship, after your family has been announced, there are going to be cast members there that are going to direct you two different ways. One, in what they push most people towards, is the buffet. And when you're ready to go eat lunch on embarkation day, it's a really important decision because you're going to start your vacation off hungry probably because you're boarding around 11:30 to 1, somewhere in that range. You're probably ready for lunch. Now, most people are going to be funneled up to Cabanas or Marceline Market. Those are the onboard buffets. You can also have the option of going to do a sit down lunch. So when the cast member there is pointing two different, and they always use two fingers, by the way. So you'll see cast members pointing, they're pointing you this way to Cabanas or Marceline Market. You can follow that if you want to go hit the buffet, or you can go do a sit down lunch and they'll be offered in one of the main dining restaurants on board. Now, these are called rotational dining restaurants. That's what you're going to hear them referred to from here on out. They're rotational dining because you're going to go through them each night. Now, you can always do this for lunch and breakfast each day as well. So on embarkation day, if you are showing up before 12:30, it may actually be worth it to go up to the buffet because there won't be a ton of people on board the ship quite yet. If you are arriving after 12:30 on embarkation day, I personally would suggest going ahead and go do the sit down lunch. Anytime, like we always go do the sit down lunch and then we head on upstairs to get some ice cream and maybe jump into the pool. But one of the things that you don't maybe realize is that if you are going to the buffet on embarkation day or any day, hit the buffet and then come out and you can eat near the pool area because there are tons of chairs and tables outside. So if the kiddos are super excited, you've brought something on board with them to change into and they're just ready to jump in the pool, they don't want to eat, they don't care about any of that, mom and dad, go grab something from the buffet, sit along the sides, there's plenty of tables and chairs along there, and then let the kiddos go ahead and go jump in the pool. And then there's always ice cream, so they can fill up on ice cream before the first night's dinner. Rotational dining is probably the most unique concept to Disney Cruise Line, other than the kids clubs that are free. That's pretty great too. One of the things that we love the most about Disney Cruise Line is the rotational dining concept, and it's really simple. You get to go to a new restaurant every single night. You don't go to the same restaurant like you normally would. Like there's no main dining room that you always go to. With Disney Cruise Line, you're always in a new location every night. There are 3 restaurants on board every single ship. There's one that's more like animator focused, or like more animation, more whimsical, probably from the movies. There's another one that's more upscale. And then there's another one that's kind of like unique to that ship and it's only found on that ship. Name might be different, menu might be the same, but there's always going to be one restaurant that's only on that ship. One of the things that we love the most about this is that it really allows our family to get to know the serving team that's there. That's a really good point to bring out, is that these serving team members, they're there to take care of you, help you have a really great time on your cruise. So at the end of the cruise, make sure you take care of them with the onboard gratuities and make sure that those serving team members are really taken care of. But they go the extra mile, whether it's the magic tricks that they're teaching your kids, the card tricks, playing tic-tac-toe and drawing with a crayon on the tablecloth, giving you recommendations, telling you like, oh, you sure you want to order that? Like, I wouldn't do that. Like, order 2 of this instead because this is a really good dessert or a really good appetizer. Your serving team is there. They get to know you, your likes, your dislikes. If you really like Diet Coke with lime, by the second night, they may have a Diet Coke with lime ready to be there at the table for you when you sit down. That serving team and that rotational dining concept allows you to try a lot of brand new menus and new items every night. So you're never going to feel like you're stuck with the same thing every single night of your cruise. Rotational dining is awesome and we really, really love it. And it's one of the most unique things about Disney Cruise Line. And you just got to see it and you just got to try it for yourself to really fully understand how great it is and how much it changes your vacation for the better. After testing both early and late dining across multiple cruises, here's what you need to know before you decide for you and your family. Main seating is at 5:45 p.m. and the second seating is at 8:15 p.m. The pros for early dining is that it's better for young kids, it's easier to make shows with those kiddos, and there's more time for adult activities later on. Some of the cons are that you have to rush back from ports and it's usually a busier and more hectic atmosphere inside the restaurant. For that second seating, it's usually a more relaxed pace, and so this is much better for port days, usually a more intimate setting inside the restaurant, but kids are probably going to be really tired and everybody's going to want a snack around 5 p.m. so you can grab that from the quick service on board the ship. Now you're probably at a port and you may have to rush back to make a show if you really want to see it, and you may miss some adult activities later on because you're doing that later dining. Basically, that dining time affects your entire schedule. It affects the show times, it affects kids club pickup, adult activities, even your breakfast rotation on debarkation day is determined by your seating. Pro tip, if you're torn, pick late dining. You can always grab a snack and the serving team is a lot more chill because they're not in as big of a time crunch. If you want to request a table by yourself or you're specifically requesting a table near a screen, this seating is probably going to give you the best opportunity to have that request granted. Who are y'all and are we sitting together? Well, yeah, we've seen this happen so many times on cruises where nobody knew what was going on and like a husband and wife are like nervously chatting back and forth. Did you know about this? I didn't know about this. Like, why are we seated with someone? Like, these are strangers. So yes, you are almost guaranteed to be seated with someone else if you are traveling in a party by yourselves. DCL does try to make sure that table mates are in similar life stages, so if you're a family with young kids, you'll probably be seated next to someone that also has young kids. If you're a couple, there's probably going to be 1 or 2 other couples seated with you. If you have an amazing travel agent like moi, they're probably going to be requested to have you seated at a table by yourself before the cruise if you want that. However, if you didn't make that request or you don't have myself as your travel agent, well, once you're on board, just head straight to one of the lounges. Usually these are like the mixed use lounges during the day. There will be dining team members there and you can totally make that request yourself. It's never a guarantee that you'll get your request granted, even when I do it, but it never hurts to ask. And fun fact, late dining is usually going to have more private table options because it's less crowded. So if you have some flexibility, grab that second seating at 8:15, but at the end of the day, don't automatically avoid sharing a table with someone else. Some of our best cruise memories have come from families that we've met at dinner. I still keep in touch with and shout out Seth with some of the other folks that we've met on prior cruises. It's a great way to meet new friends and who knows, maybe you'll become Facebook buddies. So while there are always 3 restaurants on every single ship in the fleet, which you are able to visit for free with rotational dining each night, and by the way, there's also a sit-down breakfast and lunch option available every single day as well at one of those 3 restaurants. But across Disney's fleet of ship, there are 3 paid restaurants available: Palo, Remy, and Enchante. You won't find all 3 on every ship in the fleet because the Enchante is only available on the Wish and Treasure. Palo is available on the Magic, Wonder, Dream, and Fantasy. Remy's only on the Dream and Fantasy. And there's also the Palo Steakhouse. Yeah, I know it kind of sounds similar, but Palo and Palo Steakhouse are different, and Palo Steakhouse is available on the Wish and Treasure. Later this year, there are a ton more cool restaurants coming to the Disney Adventure, which you won't find on any other ship. These restaurants do cost extra, and they are all adults only. You do have to dress up a little bit to go here, but there are some pretty cool unique options like brunch and prima notte, and even a dessert experience at Enchante. Reservations will always fill up prior to sailing, especially for brunch or like the experiences with a wine pairing menu, hands-on dessert making, etc. So be ready to grab that reservation as soon as your booking window opens. If everything is sold out, well, there's really 2 options. Number 1, this is where finding a Facebook group really comes in handy. Go to facebook.com, type in your sailing date and the ship, and it's probably going to have a group already created for it. And oftentimes plans are going to change for people. You're planning, other people are planning, and things are going to change. Some folks in those groups will post ahead of time saying, hey, I'm going to drop this Palo brunch reservation if anybody wants to grab it. So you can coordinate with them and they drop it and you grab it. The second option though is as soon as you get on board, head to one of the lounges where the dining team is located. It's actually listed for you in the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app as dining changes, and a rep from each of the restaurants will be there. They can help you get into the restaurant if there are any held back reservations, or they also will always have a wait list in case a spot opens up or somebody has to cancel last minute. They'll put you on the wait list for it and they'll message you if that spot opens up. By the way, one of the coolest experiences that we have had to date on board any Disney Cruise Line ship was at Enchante when Chef Arnaud came out to say hello to my wife and I. We talked for a few minutes and it was really obvious that he takes great pride in the food that leaves his kitchen. He actually sent us a few extra dishes to try out. A really nice guy and one of the coolest experiences that we've gotten to have on any ship with just my wife and I together. I think by now we've pretty much tested every single food option on board every Disney ship, and so here is your complete guide to what won't cost you a penny extra. So the obvious one is your rotational dining restaurants. You go to those for dinner every night, but you can also have a sit-down breakfast and lunch there if you want to. You can also head to Cabanas or the Marceline Market buffets. Those are both available for breakfast and lunch. There's also quite a few quick service options. Those are usually on the top deck over by the pool with pizza. On the newer Wish class ships, there's barbecue, there's even Donald's Cantina, there's always going to be burgers and fries, and there's also room service. So every item on the menu for room service is completely free except for the sodas, beer, wine, anything like that. That does cost extra. But there's also unlimited soft serve ice cream. There's also some fresh fruit options on board, and there's coffee and tea along with all of the soda that you can handle. So our pro tips for getting the most value out of the food is to watch our playlist. So we have a ton of different reviews of every single item on board the Wish and the Dream, and you can see those linked here. We also have a lot of different playlists to see what kind of food you might want to try, because when you get to those restaurants and you see a couple options that you might want to try, get both. Your serving team will also be happy to give you their recommendations on what they like and what they don't like. Feel free to grab as many between meal snacks as you want at those quick service options, and continental breakfast to your room in the mornings is a great option, especially for those early risers. Getting that fresh pot of coffee and some orange juice or some cereal in the morning, great start to your day. Oh, and 2 words, churro waffles. Trust me when I say that you need to grab these from the buffet on the mornings that they are offered. Yeah, you won't regret it. After chowing down on a bunch of those churro waffles, you're probably wondering, what am I drinking to wash this all down with? And yeah, sodas are free. And this is a pretty big deal because most cruise lines do charge for soda packages, but there's some tricks to know about getting your fizzy drinks every single day. You know, right now you can go up on any deck on any Disney ship and find free soda 24/7. Usually these soda fountains are located near Cabanas or Marceline Market. And of course, during meal times at sit-down restaurants or inside those buffets, you can also get soda 100% free. Ask for a Coke or a juice or something like that. Yeah, it'll be brought to you. But do note that soda is not included with room service. So if you order a Coke with your room service order, they'll bring you a can and you do have to pay for that can. At those soda fountains, you're also going to find hot chocolate, coffee, and hot water for some tea. Fair warning though that the coffee on board is not ideal, so for the best cup of coffee, you're going to want to go over to the Cove Cafe. Inside the buffets during breakfast and lunch, there's also soda stations inside. There's some juice and some coffee available too, but the best thing to do for you on your Disney cruise is to bring a refillable cup. You do get these little paper cups at the soda stations, but you're totally welcome to bring a Stanley or some other cup like that, and you can refill it as many times as you want to throughout the day. Just remember that there are some extra cost items, so if you do go to the Cove Cafe, coffee there does cost, but they do put some pretty cool characters on board your coffee. If you go grab ice cream or something like that, you know, milkshakes, smoothies, those are not included. You do have to pay extra for them, but at the end of the day, sodas are completely free, and on any Disney ship, I promise you will not go thirsty. Disney actually has one of the most generous alcohol policies at sea, and that's probably because they don't have any kind of like an all-you-can-drink package. But you do need to know that there are very specific rules, or those bottles might end up in ship storage. Here's exactly what each adult can bring: 2 bottles of wine or 2 bottles of champagne, 6 beers, and you can bring this at both the embarkation point and each port you visit. The important rules is that you must bring these in your carry-on. You cannot put alcohol in your checked bag. You cannot also bring any kind of hard liquor. Bottles have to be unopened, and each person that's 21 years of age or older must carry their own allotment. If you want to bring a special bottle of vino to enjoy at dinner, Disney does charge a $29 corkage fee per bottle. You can save a lot of money bringing your bottles of wine on board, especially if you have a particular brand or vintage you drink regularly, but just make sure to follow the rules or you may get your bottles confiscated and no compensation will be offered to you. Both Cabanas and Marceline Market are more like your typical cruise buffets with a higher quality of food than some other cruise lines that we've been on. Typical hours for breakfast are 7 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. while lunch is usually 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. On sea days, it will feel very crowded in there, so my recommendation is to send someone ahead to go scout tables and save one for your party. It's not great otherwise because you'll be carrying a lot of food and you've got kiddos and it's a big mess, so don't do that. Just have someone go grab the table and then everybody can take turns going through the line. The best times that we found for breakfast are right before 8 a.m. and at lunch, try and go towards the end, like maybe 1:40, 1:45. Either way, Cabanas and Marceline Market are great options for both breakfast and for lunch. The question on all our minds is it true that there's unlimited ice cream on board? Well, yes, and it's actually even better than people say. So let's break down everything you need to know about Disney's famous onboard ice cream. You'll find these soft serve machines on the main deck area, usually near the quick service dining options. The standard rotation will always include vanilla and chocolate, but each day there's a new flavor available like banana, mint, strawberry, blueberry, and even mango. There's plenty of cones, and if you want to grab yourself a float or get a bowl from one of those quick service spots, you can do that too. However, on the Wish class ships, a cast member will hand you the cone rather than you doing it yourself. By the way, there's also multiple ice cream machines on Castaway Cay, and I'm not one to brag, but I am very proud of this cone here. If you can top that tower, let me know in the comments below because I want to send you some ice cream swag. If you get the late night munchies, well, Disney's got you covered. You don't have to worry about a thing because Disney has pizza available until about midnight. Up on the top deck, they've got a movie playing on Funnel Vision until sometime after midnight, so there's pizza available then. Sodas are always available 24/7. At nighttime, there's also going to be a happy hour at one of the pubs or one of the bars downstairs in the adults area. Now, the bar is usually going to be open, all until like maybe 1 a.m., 2 a.m., really depends. But the happy hour buffet is only open for like 45 minutes, and it's like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. You'll have to check the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app to figure out what time it is. But that buffet, buffet is really like very small things, finger sandwiches, some maybe some chips, some chicken wings, some fruits, really small pedophores, different desserts, things like that. So it's not like a huge buffet, a big spread that you can count on. But if you're hungry at like 2 a.m., that's where room service comes in because room service is always included with your cruise. You don't have to pay anything extra for room service unless you're ordering like a beer or a can of Coke or something like that, which you should never have to order a can of Coke. Just go upstairs and grab one yourself. But if you order room service, that's always included. Now, please do tip your cast member that brings the food to you. Usually like $1 to $2 per item, not just for the delivery itself. $1 to $2 per item in that room service delivery is what's customary. But room service is free. So if you want something at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m., you can always get that delivered to your room, except for on debarkation day. Room service stops at midnight on debarkation day. So if you get hungry at 11:59 p.m. and the pizza's closed and room service stops at 11:59 p.m. on debarkation day, you're going to have to wait until breakfast the next morning. But any other time on your cruise, you can always get something to eat. Pro tip, Mickey ice cream bars are allowed to be delivered through room service. You don't have to be in a concierge room to get those Mickey ice cream bars. If you call up room service, they will actually bring fresh Mickey ice cream bars to your door. Our final section is all about the things that you can actually do once you step on board a Disney cruise ship, the entertainment, the activities, and of course the infamous kids clubs that we keep talking about. We're going to hear from some experts in just a little bit. Trust me when I tell you that this is an activity you absolutely do not want to miss. There are 4 things to know about Pirate Night. The first thing, there is actually a special Pirate Night menu on 4-night or longer sailings. If you're on a 3-night sailing, you'll still have the normal rotational dining menu, but if you're lucky enough to get on a 4-night sailing and have the Pirate Night food, oh boy, it's delicious. And number 2, there is a Pirates in the Caribbean deck party. It's so much fun. There's a great show, there's dancing, the kids love it. Your family will have a blast hanging out together, especially if, number 3, your kiddos dress up as pirates. Everybody can get on the action. It's not just for kiddos. Everybody in the family can dress up. But most importantly, the 4th reason to soak in Pirate Night is that Disney is actually the only cruise line which does fireworks at sea on every single sailing with Pirate Night. After the second seating for dinner, if you're there or around 9 o'clock, go ahead and head upstairs to the top deck, get on the starboard side. So if you're looking at Funnel Vision, get on the right side, go up there by the railing on that deck above the pools where you see Funnel Vision. It's important to get on the starboard side. Try to get in the middle though, don't go all the way to Funnel Vision, don't be too far back. The best vantage point is on the top, on the starboard side, right in the middle facing Funnel Vision. Why? Well, that's the best vantage point for the show, but also for the fireworks. Here's a little taste of what you can expect on board. Yeah, watching this, I definitely have a little bit of goosebumps right now because I'm sitting here thinking about all the different fun that my family has had while they're dancing. My kiddos are having a great time watching Mickey fly across, watching those fireworks. So no matter how many sailings we go on, you can count on us to be there. Rain or shine, the fireworks will always go on. Now, the show may take place indoors if there's substantial rain, but the fireworks will always be there. And trust me when I tell you that this is an activity that you do not want to miss. The Oceaneer Club and the Oceaneer Lab are the two kids clubs on board every Disney ship for kiddos 3 to 12, while Vibe and Edge are available for teens and tweens. Yep, they're all free and you can totally drop your kiddos off and pick them up multiple times throughout the day. By the way, you definitely cannot drop a kid off at 10 a.m. and pick them up at midnight. And yeah, these kids clubs are open until midnight every night of the sailing. And you do have to feed your kids because the kids clubs do not offer anything other than water throughout the day. I also wanted to bring in my 3 experts on the Kids Club and ask them what their favorite part is. So, Hunter, what's your favorite part?
My favorite thing about the Kids Club is the activities they have, including Goggle Ball.
What do you think is your favorite part of the Kids Club, Sloan?
I like to trace in the arts room.
Bennett, what do you like about the Kids Clubs the most?
I love the Mario Kart and the iPad.
Well, gang, there you have it. Trust the Kids Club's experts because they are one of the best selling points for any family heading out on a Disney cruise. The It's a Small World nursery is available on all ships to kiddos 6 months because that's the minimum sailing age, all the way up to 3 years old. It's an extra cost at $4.50 per 30 minutes that your child is there. They do maintain a very strict cast member to baby ratio, and you have to pick up your baby on time. Also, you do need to remember to reserve your time slots in advance even before the cruise starts, because once on board, it's first come, first served for availability. You can bring some items on board with you to place in that diaper bag, but a cast member will check your diaper bag before your kiddo can go back every single time. You can't bring toys or anything not on this list, so do double check before heading to the nursery. As parents who are thankfully out of the diaper phase, this one was always fun for us to try and plan around when we had those littles with us on board the cruise ship. And really the answer to this depends on which activities your littles want to go do, because if they're going to head to the nursery, obviously no potty training is required and they're still probably in diapers. But if they want to go to the Oceaneer Club or the Oceaneer Lab, they do have to be fully potty trained, no diapers allowed inside, and the cast members and those kids counselors at the front when you check in for the first time, they will ask you, can your kiddo wipe themselves? If you're going to go outside and go to the pool, in any of the pools, whether it's the family pool or the kiddo pool, the kids do have to be fully potty trained. They cannot be wearing any swim diapers, and the lifeguard will pull them out of the pool if they see them wearing a swim diaper in there. But there is some good news, and that's the splash pad areas. No potty training is required there. Swim diapers are totally okay. And this is because there's no standing water. All of the water that's there is temperature controlled. But at the end of the day, it's all about the fun. And these splash pad areas are really, really great. If you have kiddos that are not potty trained yet, well, there's tons of character meets on board. There's great family activities like game shows, karaoke, arts and crafts, trivia, and of course, there's always movie theaters. While everyone in your stateroom will receive a Key to the World card, when you check your kids into the Kids Club, they actually get a free Magic Band Plus to wear at all times while they're on board the ship. This allows the counselors to track their location within the club at all times. And seriously, it's pretty cool, but also slightly freaky that they know precisely where a kid is playing and which room they are in when you go to pick them up. While these bands are free to use while you're on board the ship, and of course you can take them off the ship if you're going on a port adventure or something like that, you do have to return that band to the Kids Club by midnight on the last night of your cruise. Otherwise, your stateroom account will be charged $25. On the flip side, these magic bands are very interactive and they light up on pirate night. They get to interact with the different shows. It's pretty cool. And don't worry, you don't have to charge them or anything like that, because if the batteries run out, take it back to the Kids Club and the counselors will replace it for free, no problem.
Hi, I'm Val. I'm Ben's other half, and I'm also the voice of many of the other YouTube videos on our channel. So here are my thoughts on whether or not Disney cruises are fun for adults. On our third Disney cruise, we went with some friends of ours who also have kids, and most of the time the kids just wanted to be dropped off at the Oceaneer Club. So we'd go drop off the kids and then we'd go explore the ship. And there was never any shortage of things to do. There were shows, movies, trivia, tastings, or just lounging around poolside in the adults only area. On any Disney cruise, there are no shortage of couples just walking around or at dinner without kids. It's really common. The service and staterooms are top-notch, and there's plenty of stuff to do on board the ship and visiting all the ports, including Castaway Cay, which has a really nice adults-only area called Serenity Bay. So if you're a really big Disney fan, you can totally go on a Disney cruise as an adult and have a great time.
Imagine meeting 5 Disney princesses in under 30 minutes with perfect photo ops and no long lines. Well, that's called the Royal Gathering, and here's everything you need to know. You'll typically meet Belle in her ball gown, Cinderella, Tiana, Ariel, Rapunzel, but the characters can vary by sailing based on the princess's schedule, so you could meet Snow White or Aurora as well. You'll be able to take pictures, request autographs, and parents, you're going to have the best smile and the best time because you'll be able to sit there and watch your kiddos have these great conversations with every single princess at the Royal Gathering. The most important thing to note though is that you must have a reservation to get that spot in line. Reservations are 100% free and they open up 30 days before your cruise's embarkation date. There will be at least one Royal Gathering on every cruise, but most cruises will actually have multiple time slots available. But you can only reserve once per cruise, and each member of your party that wants to wait in line does need a reservation to show up and wait in that line. If you tried but you couldn't get a reservation, then go ahead and stop by guest services the moment you step on board the ship because they do have extra reservations there, but they are also first come first serve and they go super fast. Are there pools or splash pads? Yep, and here is the complete guide to making the most of these onboard water features from Disney. Now, there are a lot of great pools on board, whether it's the family pool, the kiddo pool. Every ship has at least 2 pools on board. Some may have up to 5 or 6, really depends on the class of ship that you're going on. Every ship will also have some family hot tubs as well as some adult only hot tubs. There's some great splash zones. Now, our kiddos love these splash zones. They have so much fun, whether it's the Finding Nemo area or the Aqua Lab with Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And let's not forget the water slides because there are 3 different slides that you could find across the Disney fleet. There's the Aqua Dunk, the Aqua Duck, and the Aqua Mouse, which is only on the newer ships. Which slide you'll have on board your ship? Well, it really depends. They don't have every single slide on every single ship. For mom and dad, there's also the adult pool area that's called the Quiet Cove. Really relaxing, it's great, it's only for adults 18 years and older. With thousands of other people on the ship, you're probably wondering, which time can I go to avoid all the crowds? Well, the best days to do that are going to be port days because there's a lot of people getting off the ship to go out and explore. And if you choose to stay on board the ship, well, you're probably going to have the pool kind of to yourself, at least through early lunch. Dinner times are also really good. Now, you do have to pay attention to the calendar for when the pools are actually open, but when families do go down for that first seating, or if they're trying to get ready, like maybe around 4 or 4:30 when people go to take showers and kind of get ready to go eat dinner, that's also a really good time for you to be there at the pool and kind of have it to yourself as well. Some of the other pro tips that we've learned through the years, do not save a chair with a towel because that towel is going to get removed by a cast member because they want to make sure everybody else has a place to sit as well. It's also a great idea to bring multiple swimsuits, and don't forget those metallic hooks that you can put on the wall that are magnetic, help you dry those swimsuits a lot faster. Pool towels are always free. You never have to give a key card for a pool towel or anything like that. And there are plenty of options available nearby if you want to grab a drink. By the way, something that a lot of videos don't tell you is that the Aqua Mouse will often not let single riders in line due to high winds. So be sure to bring a buddy or a kiddo along with you so you can actually ride the Aqua Mouse no matter which time of day. By the way, do it at nighttime because it's a completely different experience at night. And whether there's high winds or not, you can ride with 2 people instead of getting pulled aside because you're a single rider by yourself. There actually is a theater on board every single ship, and the Wish class has 2 theaters. On board, you'll be able to grab popcorn and snacks for an extra cost, and you can buy a popcorn bucket and refill it on board. Side note, you can also bring your popcorn bucket from the parks and refill that. You'll be able to watch a ton of different Disney movies and even some that are still in theaters. There's also Funnel Vision, which is on the top deck, and that shows movies all day long and even into the late evening. So there are always great places on board if you want to just chill out and watch a movie or 3. After seeing dozens of shows across a bunch of different cruise ships, I can confidently tell you that Disney shows are in a league of their own. These Broadway quality shows are great and they're fantastic for kiddos of all ages. You should really not skip the shows at nighttime. If you're at the 5:45 dinner, you're going to go to the second show of the night. If you're at the 8:15 dinner, you're going to go to the first show of the night, because every night the show runs twice for everybody. If you skip one of those shows, it's not that big of a deal, but you really are missing out. And the best part about these shows is they're already included in your fare. You don't have to pay anything extra for them. They're great shows, they're great entertainment, and you get to see some unique things. So if you're on the Treasure, you have the Moana show. If you're on the Magic and Wonder, you have the Dream show. So some of the shows are unique. Some of them are found across a bunch of different ships. And the shows also rotate through. So you may have a show one night, a magician the next night, and another show. Every night there is something really fun for you to do in the theater, and I highly recommend that you do not skip these shows. So we went from 5,000 questions down to 40, and we've talked about a lot of things in this video, and let's get to the biggest question of all. Is it worth it for me to go on a Disney Cruise Line vacation with my family? And the answer is, it really depends, because yes, Disney cruises are going to cost a lot more. Sometimes they can cost like up to 50% more than going on a Royal Caribbean cruise with your family of 4. But what you don't really see reflected in the numbers is all the value that you get out of a Disney Cruise Line vacation. You're getting the free soda, you're getting the rotational dining, you're getting all of the Disney IP that you are seriously bathed in from dusk to dawn every single day. You're surrounded by Disney IP, and you get all these like unique experiences. You're not getting nickel and dime for everything. You get all these great shows on board. But because of the Disney IP and all of the different experiences that these ships are built around, what you really can't put a price tag on are the smiles that you get from your kiddos. Like, if I remember clearly, like my daughter smiling when she got to meet Rapunzel for the first time on board at one of the royal gatherings, or watching Mickey fly across during Pirates of the Caribbean and seeing the fireworks at sea, watching my son, my littlest one, eyes light up when his magic band started like going crazy during Animator's Palette, Drawn to Life. Like, there are so many cool things that like pop out in my head. And at the end of the day, like, that price tag is a little bit more for Disney Cruise Lines ships, but the value that you can get out of it is so much more because of the experiences that are kind of baked into that. Now, is a Disney Cruise Line vacation for everybody? No, absolutely not. If you're very budget conscious and you can't afford it, there's no reason to go into debt. Like, please don't go into debt to go on a vacation. And if you really don't care about Disney IP and it's not that important to you, like, yeah, there's other things that you can do. And if you're looking for a party atmosphere, you're looking for like a casino, lots of drink packages, things like that, Disney Cruise Line is definitely not for you. And I'm not saying that it's only families that can go on board, because a lot of adults do go on board Disney cruise ships, just like Val talked about. At the end of the day, though, like, those memories that you're going to be able to bake in, like, into the furthest parts of your brain and always be able to have them, that's something you can't really put a price tag on. And that's what vacations are all about. Helping families build vacation memories and things that you can treasure for a lifetime. That's what we're all about here. That's why we put out so much content, like eating every single thing on Disney Wish or the Disney Dream, or talking about a full walkthrough of the Disney Treasure. We have a ton of content on this channel and others on our website. We have a ton of things that will help you plan for your next vacation, especially if it's a Disney Cruise Line vacation. We have a ton of stuff there to help you make sure that you can maximize the vacation, not feel stressed out about it, and at the end of the day, helping you actually enjoy your vacation is what we're all about here at Famvia Travel.